Superman number 19, written by Joshua Williamson with art by Dan Mora, Alejandro Sanchez, and Ariana Mayer. And we start the story off with a little cold open where Superman is fighting the Time Trapper at some point in time and getting the holy hell beaten out of him. But we're not here for that right now because we're going back in time, the present day in Metropolis, where Superwoman and Superman are arm in arm fighting Atomic Skull and his atomic pets for some reason. But we're just pretty much showing you that Lois Lane, we'll figure out more later on, but right now she is Superwoman. She's out there kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah. And in that, you have to remember, because even at one point, she's like, oh, man, flying. But I'm like, okay, Superman Reborn, the stuff that like she
that
would
didn't happen
not
anymore,
remember.
yeah.
And yeah, so that
because the New
happen,
52 Lois Lane, who was Superman, she died, and then history was erased.
It's so wacky. And I'm sure that some people would bring it like, oh, well, I thought she was this. But really, all in all, nobody remembers that, and nobody should. That was garbage. So when you go into this, I'm like,
saying,
okay.
which is the weirdest part, because the idea of how they got their power in the New 52, when Superman died, his energy went out there, and that's how Con Keaton got his power. It's how Lana Lang got her power. But for some reason, even though that timeline was erased because of Superman Reborn, Lana Lang and Con Keaton still have their powers.
It never made sense because they wanted to go with it. Also, at this, you do have a fun play because, after the Time Trapper stuff, you end up where Jimmy, I got to get that picture of Superwoman, and you have Lois like, haha, like bullshit. Like,
no. That's the worst part is because Jimmy wants to have a front page of Perry White's mayoral campaigning going on for this. He's like, you know what I want, Jimmy? I want a picture of Superwoman for the front page, but she is Superwoman. She's not allowing Jimmy Olsen to get this photo. She's an awful, awful bitch.
Well, she is. Now you said it this time, and again,
I did. It's just such a weird play to screw over Jimmy Olsen like this, though, knowing what you know.
And, well, here's the thing, too. Jimmy gets on the phone.
You're setting him up to fail.
Hey, what are they running in the Gotham? What, they're running Bruce Wayne nailing it? All right, I got to get this Perry White deal where he's with, in the park. The thing is, though, Lois is like, listen, Jimmy, I can't tell you why, but she's thinking, if they end up, if he gets that, she's not disguised. The minute that they take that picture, it's Lois Lane. There's anything different. And then people are like, wait a minute.
She's married to Clark Kent, who kind of looks like Superman. Stroke across the nation.
Strokesies across
Thanks
the
a lot,
the
Project
world.
Blackout.
That's what happens. Jimmy Olsen becomes the biggest serial killer that has ever been known. He has now killed
do we
so
have
many.
to throw that on Jimmy Olsen, or can we just still blame Lex Luthor for Project Blackout?
No, I think I'll blame Lois being a bitch. Yeah, she can't even get a domino mask.
She's not allowing anybody to take her picture.
I mean, the idea of Superman, and people laugh, he has, a demeanor that's klutzy and glasses. And how wouldn't you be able to tell? Lois Lane might as well be flying around in a smart pantsuit. Right? There's nothing different. She's just there, but she's fun.
Lois Lane with a big old S on her chest.
And something big old, two things, too. I'll remind you, Eric, she's stacked.
What tell things? You. Titties. I got you.
Yes, you got it. So you end up where it is a fun moment where she's like, oh my God, an explosion. Superman. I mean, look at those things. Holy moly. There's an explosion. You have the fun play of her running into the broom closet, and there's Superman. That's fun.
Fancy meeting you here.
And then after a little romp, they go and, because they could do it faster, they go and do it. And then
they always do.
They show the S's.
I'm Superman as well.
They show the S's, and I see which one is the one, right? And then you go and holy moly. I mean, that is a skin tight suit, and it's not, no imagination needed. But also, you have the deal where I still think as they're walking, Cat Grant's like, did you hear this shit about Mariposa being the whole deal of the editor? And Lombard's like, fucking, I've been here for 50 years. What is going on? It's good.
I've been here for 50 years.
I'm telling you, for a fact, and this isn't a joke, those two bang all the time. They
Cat
are
Grant
just,
Lombard?
Oh yeah. Like, I'm not saying dating. I'm saying that at this, they're like, you want to go bang again? They just go
bang.
Bang.
Angry banging. I got you.
Oh yeah. And just yelling at each other about how they hate each other. That'll be great. I like Lombard as that guy who's just such a piece of crap. It makes it funny. But man, Mariposa being the thing in Power Girl, there's no way.
Has a little bit more class than Megan Lombard. Now, obviously, it's one of those things where she's not going to tell anybody about it because she has that class. But, behind closed doors, maybe. As long as we keep it a secret.
You're never going to see Lombard except jacked. I mean, the guy has he's in shape, and he's got that mustache. Ladies like that, right? That means he's pure hetero. You end up where you have that going on. And the thing with Lois, it's not bad. I mean, the idea, if you do want to or like to have Lois as Superwoman, I don't think it's necessary. But I did get worried by the end of this and why I thought it was happening. And I thought it might be a little bit of bullcrap, but it doesn't become the case. But in the meantime... It is
crazy, though, that the adventure that we go on for this issue is Superman and Superwoman taking care of Atomic Skull and his zoo crew of atomic animals, because we're coming back to the Atomic Skull, but at least for this issue, we have a throwaway line that says Atomic Skull is doing what he's doing now, like going against the special crimes unit that he used to be a part of, the good guy that we all liked, Atomic Skull to be, because he was experimented on by Grafton Farm previously. They did something here, and for some reason, he's got atomic zoo crews going on, but nobody knows why.
They shouldn't bring this shit up. It's already getting to the point where it's too much. You can't start fiddling and faddling with shit where you also have, hey, people are changing powers, and Lois, she's this, but this Atomic Skull, he's not quite that. He's also Farman Graf. That was before. It's just too much. Just go with the idea that he got some wacky power or something. And it went.
I'm saying his powers are still the same, though. The reason that he's acting out now out of nowhere.
I'm just saying, though, it's starting to confuse people because you're not even explaining the other side of it with the idea of powers and stuff are losing and whatnot. So, and we have dogs going nuts here. But in the meantime, it just ends up to me just hold off with people changing a lot because that's what it is, and it's always ambiguous. But it is Farman Graf. If you're jumping in with just this all in, you'll never know what they're talking about. And
even the idea of that, most people who are jumping in will just know Atomic Skull as a baddie, so there you go.
Yeah, and the problem is, though, this guy should have so many issues at this point because he is back and forth. It just goes by story. Even in the same book, obviously, you have him good, bad, or whatever. But there he is, and now this is where Mariposa can go out and end up getting the Atomic Skull story that she turned down before, but maybe now has to talk about when she talks to Power Girl in her book of that nonsense.
Well, maybe this is the Atomic Skull story that she said she got.
That's what I'm saying. This might be the one, but I don't think it is. I don't think that's the case. But again, you end up having Superwoman Lois, and it's fine. It's not as forced as I thought it would be, and she's just joining in. They do end up looking into the stats back at Supercore, and
it is crazy though, the idea too, where where Lois Lane is given Kryptonian powers, but they have to constantly be monitored. It's like, you're good to use your frost breath, but heat vision is a big no-no. My team suspects it burns up too much of the solar energy in your cells, and we don't know if you're absorbing it like Superman does. So this whole thing where pretty much I think we're spending most of Supercore's time just making sure that Lois doesn't burn up and die.
That she doesn't burn up and die like before. That didn't happen. But you end up where also you want to...
did.
Yeah. Well,
in a non-existent timeline now.
But then you end up where simple Lex, he's watching old movies of himself being an asshole.
I will kill you, Superman. Nope, don't remember none of this.
I don't. I think he just gets conked on the head or something like that or whatnot, or reveals something. But in the meantime, he's like, I don't think I want to be that guy. It's not really anything, just letting you know that he's still there. Yeah, I just don't like his look. But it's okay.
He is Lex Luthor with a red beard. That's all he is.
Yeah, and he's like, I think I like that power suit. Maybe that's the start of it. But yeah, you end up having Lena trying to, hey, this is you, Dad. I don't know why. Maybe just show him some good things. But you end up having all that.
Yeah, good luck finding that.
Well, it'll be very quick. It's actually like animated. It's like,
and here's you real? For that brief time when you were Super Lex and were on the Justice League.
Look at you. This is you walking up to the Wayne Manor and telling everybody that you know who Batman is.
Here's you when you were president and definitely not doing any nefarious things.
No, nothing at all. So then what you do end up having, and again, there's Lois. She's out there and they're fighting the Atomic Skull and his things. And then Lois is like, oh my God, they're so cute. It's tickling me. While the manufacturer Jimmy Olsen is on his chopper.
Mr. Action.
I love the guys. Out of my way, I'm getting this picture.
Jimmy Olsen, ever since he started dating Silver Banshee, is just a badass. Look at that hog he's riding.
He is kind of, but it also seems to be affecting his workflow. He's having some problem with. I like Jimmy, and it's funny. He's trying to get that picture, and in my mind, this will be the running gag.
It's a chopper, baby. Whose chopper is this? It's Jimmy Olsen's. Where's Jimmy Olsen? Trying to get a picture of Superwoman. Damn.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's right here. I'm your boyfriend. But when you end up having this go on, I think this might be the continuous thing where suddenly he's going to, and then Lois won't be Superwoman anymore, something like that. And he'll be, shucks, I didn't get the picture or something like that.
I imagine that will be the case, because I can't see Lois continuing on the Superwoman strip for very long.
I think that she's just Superwoman. to join in and fight with Doomsday when we get to the fights and as things go on and
but
whatnot.
It is one of those all-in things about the idea of the family, because now you're having Lois and Clark doing way more things together as husband and wife.
That's a family thing, because they were always doing everything together. They worked together all the time.
They weren't doing this stuff together.
Point. Yeah, but I don't get, this doesn't feel like family to me. There's not John. You don't have, I just think
not
that
only
this
that,
is
but the thing is, you will say it doesn't feel like family. To a degree, I can agree with you, because I feel like she will go the Linda Park route, where she is almost addicted to these powers and doesn't want to go back to be the life of a mortal editor-in-chief woman that she used to be, because she's even putting a lot of her responsibilities aside to do superwoman stuff now. And I think this is going to affect her a lot, like it affected Linda Park after she had her Speed Force taken away.
In the meantime, Perry's going to lose the LA. He's going to be back too. She's just a reporter. I actually think she's going to like that. I think that she's overwhelmed with some of these things. I think that she's just going to say, hey, but the one thing that it would do, but again, I never thought of Lois as a bitch to Clark in the way of, oh man, your Superman stuff is so easy, whatever. I think that does give her, though, that she's like, hey, now I know what it's like, and boy, and she's going to get a front row ticket to fighting Doomsday. Before, she was just there for the aftermath, which she remembers.
Which is recreated great here when you see that classic pose of her holding Superman at the end of Death of Superman. I'm like, I'm telling you, it's one of the saddest days of my childhood, but I love seeing this freaking picture.
It was one of my saddest. That was when your dad left you. You end up where they're there. Lois, if Clark falls a little, Lois is nude. And really, if you do take that, make her smile a little, but keep the mouth open like that, and turn Superman into Fabio. Put him on a pirate ship. You got one of them novels. It would be great. But it does look great.
There. You don't understand.
I wasn't there. I was a man. I was doing manly things.
Just like you are now.
In the meantime, exactly. Yeah, less manly things, but still, and that's why I always constantly talking about boobs, Eric. I'm a man.
I thought it was just a pervert coming out.
And then she's like, oh my God, I just need at one point Guy Gardner to just show up, and he's all beat up again and like point me towards him. Yeah,
I'm telling you, that would be a funny way just to cut this issue together, where out of nowhere you just have Lois thinking back to the day that Superman, and it's just that a big old spread of Guy all black and blue there, not being able to see through his bruised up eyes.
You have everything time stops, and you end up where I didn't realize, because it is that play of time stopping in a thing that doesn't have any motion, and I actually thought that Superman had destroyed that pigeon or whatever. And then in the meantime, when all this
that's the thing, is because we have Doomsday coming out for the first time ever since he broke out of hell, and now Supercorp is theorizing the idea that now that he's flaming, it's that he must have died in hell, and he has a new evolution where he's just a flaming, indestructible Darkseid. So he's even scarier than he used to be, because now he's on fire. But we don't have the time to deal with that, because all of a sudden time stops as Lois is thinking back about the day that Superman died, and hopefully, it's not going to happen again, and if it does, that means that she's going to die as well. But again, time has stopped, and now the time trapper is there.
And then, in the whole play that Superman, we've seen, I said when I was somehow muted, the idea that Superman aging out, and them, we've seen that a million times, where he's like, have you told her that you're going to end up and she's going to die? Yeah, we've seen that. But
you're going to live on forever, and everyone you love and know is going to die around you.
So many stories with that. But the idea where big play, and I don't know if I was muted when I said it with you at the thing. I never saw this thing coming. I never saw this cliffhanger. Was shocking. I did not see it coming.
That's the crazy part, where we are revealed that because even in the beginning, though, we have this strange thing where it's the time trapper fighting Superman sometime in the future that we have here. So you think, okay, the time trapper was evil, but it seems at the end of this, when he reveals himself to be an ancient Doomsday, a Doomsday at the end of time, who has now come back. He's like, look, I'm Doomsday. We've been enemies for a millennium, but now I need your help. That's the thing about the time trapper, with the way that the timeline constantly changes the idea of the time trapper. It changes. The time trapper has been multiple people throughout the comics, and but it keeps changing with how the timeline keeps changing. And right now, for whatever happens at this point in time, when Doomsday escapes hell, he'll eventually find himself at the end of time to become the time trapper.
Yeah, and it's kind of a crazy deal.
Or again, like Superman, outlive everybody to the point where he is the last one alive at the the vanishing point right there.
Yeah. And then, he needs his help, he says, which is, I never thought that if I said to you, hey, I think that what's going to happen is Doomsday, he's going to be the time trapper and he's going to ask Superman for help. You'd be like, that guy don't talk.
It's one of those weird things. What is the big reveal when you find out that the time trapper at one point was Superboy Prime or Doomsday? I'm going to say, I think Doomsday is a little crazier than Superboy Prime.
Because Superboy Prime got his redemption, so that was fine.
No, that was before that.
Yeah, I know. So you end up with all this, Doomsday. That's crazy. But he does evolve. He evolved into the
emaciated, tiny, an emaciated, freaking skinny ass Doomsday that has learned to use his thinking parts aside from his muscle parts.
Yeah, I mean, and even then, I mean, he might not have all that Doomsday food that he eats, right? Whatever he
People?
eats. Exactly. They're all dead. I mean, it's true. What is he going to eat? He's emaciated. But it was pretty good. Again, I like this. I think that this week was pretty strong for DC. I think that they had a bunch of good books. I don't know that we can count this as saying, oh, it's because of, All In, because it's kind of just continuing some stuff that we had before. It's the same writer, all that. But it did look great and ended up being big. And you have
Doomsday.
Feels
different and new.
Yeah, I didn't think it felt any different. It just felt like a continuation of Joshua Williamson's things that he had, just the story with the,
and as we
adding
go forward,
into
we'll
Doomsday.
learn more about Superwoman.
Yeah, maybe.
And how she got her powers.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it's just not like, didn't you realize they added in because somebody I hope.
Well, even after this whole point, it says coming to Superman and DCO, and how did Lois Lane get her superpowers? We'll find out. What sinister secret does the Time Trapper hold? And then the strange part: when will strike a future of horrors? I'm like, this is a weird thing to say because it's the Omega Legion of superheroes from the Absolute Universe. So it looks like they're going to be coming in sooner than I ever expected to be. And also, good luck beating this guy being the new Hell Doomsday.
Yeah. It's funny, too. It's like, okay, coming to Superman and DC All In. Well, All In, it lasts 7 years. We get that one. It's like 6 years. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And a lot of times we get these things, they change. But we'll see. So it's cool. But what would you give this?
I would give this a 7.8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'll go 8.
7.9 out of 10.